Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Neptune Sunday. It's your boy, D Moss. Hey,
What's going
Vogue.
on, man?
How are you?
Hi, everybody. Lovely.
Vibing, yeah. Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay, let's just
Life
get,
is
yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We're gonna get right into it because there's a lot going on. Like April still feels like winter outside, and there's craziness going on in the world. There was an earthquake yesterday, but in the music world, this was a busy week for music. Obviously, we talked specifically about music related to Pharrell and Chad and Neptune, so a lot of specific news and updates for them as well this week, and especially yesterday. So let's get into it. First of all, today is April 6th. So yesterday, happy birthday to the one and only Pharrell Williams. He turned 51.
crazy.
Still looks he looks younger than us a little bit. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's a skincare. I really gotta invest.
I listened to the episode we did for his birthday 2 years ago, and we both said that, and we both haven't done it. Neither one of us has actually purchased any human race products. Like, hey, somebody listening to this, just go ahead and send us some, yo. Like that's like we talking about it. Like let's get the product
Uh,
placement going here.
I will talk about human care every episode if you just send me.
The next thing I want to talk about, I mean, obviously, like for those of you listening, pay attention. I work in the sports world, so this is big March Madness. Oh, it's not March anymore, but big basketball, peak basketball season right now. So NBA regular season is wrapping up. Wanted to shout out our guy LeBron rocking a personalized BBC varsity jacket this week.
Oh, nice.
Coincidentally, it was when they were playing the Wizards, so it was in DC this week. So that was dope to see the BBC accounts share that. But those of you who are also basketball fans, you know that right now when we're talking about basketball, it's being dominated by the women's game, which is really dope. Dope to see them get the love and all these different characters and all these different teams. One of my favorite people in the women's basketball space is Dawn Staley. Couple personal connections for me. Dawn actually is from Philly. She coached at Temple, where I actually am wearing my Temple sweatshirt right now, hoodie Moss. But Dawn also, before the WNBA, there was another women's basketball league called the ABL or something like that. And they had a team in Richmond, star player Dawn Staley. So used to go to the games because one of my god sisters was a ball girl. So really a big fan of Dawn Staley. But we're talking about Dawn Staley in this conversation because shout out to Slam Magazine's women's basketball accounts naming Dawn Louis Vuitton Dawn, borrowing the Louis Vuitton Dawn name from Kanye. But she's been rocking a lot of fly, high fashions, Louis V and Gucci on the sideline. She specifically has worn one of the pixelated damier print jackets from Pharrell's collection from last spring, which is dope. So shout out to Dawn Staley, shout out to all the women's basketball players that are killing it right now. Championship game is tomorrow on Sunday.
I don't watch basketball, but I want to say I'm rooting for everybody black.
Yes. So everybody black. I mean, Dawn is black. Yeah, there's a lot of black people. So like, let's
I
just
mean, I'm just quoting Issa Rae. That's all I got for this conversation.
all right. Next thing I want to talk about, obviously, this is our first time getting together since the release of Cowboy Carter. We talked about this with Kia Turner. You and I talked about this on our Fly or Die anniversary episode, but we knew that this was happening, or we predicted it. So shout out to us for predicting the fact that P was going to be on this album in some form or fashion because of the hoedown vibes that everyone is moving towards right now, which is pretty dope to see. But
Hold on, energy.
overall thoughts of the album, I don't really have. I'll let you go if you have overall thoughts about the album.
Whoa. I have a lot of thoughts on the album. I think it's masterful. I mean, it's not at this point in time, it's not my favorite Beyonce album. I don't think it needs to be. I actually appreciate what I perceive to be a lot of research and showing respect to people who made history, Black history, and I was about to say cowboy music, country music, also lifting up some younger country stars. There are a lot of features on the album of people that I somewhat knew about or hadn't heard of before. So it's exciting to be introduced to those people through Beyonce. Really excited that we did get a Pharrell produced track on this album. And as expected, I think it's like one of the standout pieces. I'd actually say that section of the album is a really strong run through Sweet Honey Buckin, which is the song that Pharrell produced. And to speak on that song specifically, I think like it's Pharrell and Beyonce do a really good job of both bringing kind of like their best known for elements. I feel like there were a lot of elements in the songs that really spoke to Pharrell's signature sound. Beyonce brings her voice, brings her ideas, and it's definitely one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, for sure. I've only listened to it all the way through one time with Kia a couple, I guess last week when it came out. But Sweet Honey Buckin' is dope. I love how it's, three parts, kind of three songs in one almost, with Honey being the bridge. And you said like the elements that they bring to the table. We know P and Chad, the Neptunes, are known for having amazing bridges and songs, that kind of being, in addition to the 4-count intro, that being one of their calling cards. So definitely with Honey as the bridge to the two song, like the other two parts of that song is really dope. I also want to point out the fact that P with the Jersey Club vibes on the song are a reminder that P can do whatever music he wants to do, right? I think that he's shown us that plenty of times over the career, whether it's specifically collaborating with people in different genres or just making his own music that sounds different, right? I think that that's really been something that I don't know if that necessarily gets credit, because people think about the Neptune sound and the Neptune sound sounding one way, but it's literally like he can make it sound like whatever he wants to. And this is a perfect example of that, because it's like Jersey Club is a really specific type of music and sound. And so for him to dive into that and to do it with this in this form for a Beyonce album was really dope. I think that's something else that I noticed about the album that makes it great is, even though it's got the hoedown country, we gotta stop saying hoedown. The country music themes, the country music like kind of themes throughout it. There are some songs that are very specifically like not country songs, but still have her influence in it, whether it's the theme of the song or the subject matter of the song. Like I think about that with this, because this is like, we know that Sweet Honey Buckin' has got kind of like the subject matter of the song is still related to the country theme, but the Jersey Club is not that's not country music, right? I also think about the same thing with the joint that Swizzy did, because a lot of people were saying that Swizzy's song stood out. It was too different, but it's like, it's talking about, I'm not a shooter, but I'm not part of a gang, but I got shooters and I bang bang. Like that's not a country song, because it's a Swizz Beatz, like really quintessential Swizz Beatz theme song. But shooters and bang bang, that's Cowboys. That's what we think about when we, so I thought that was dope too, to be able to have those different songs that weren't country songs but still fit. Like, I'm still a cow. This is a cowboy album.
I think that makes her point, right? Because like she's from Texas, and I think throughout her career in the public eye, I think people have had mixed reactions to that, almost as if she says it in one of the songs. I can't remember which song right now. She's like, used to say I was too country, now I'm not country enough. She gets a lot of feedback about like her status in the country space, even though being from Texas. But at the same time, like this is a person who grew up in that culture, who understands that culture, and it doesn't have to fit what our perceptions of quote unquote country music are to be music made by a person from the country. You know what I mean? So I feel like she does a really good job of incorporating all those different elements that like resonate with what we think country music is, but it doesn't have to be exactly that.
I need to go back and listen to the music. I mean, I think that there's some songs that I've heard that I really liked. I think Tyrant is great. I remember Yaya being a standout. Bodyguard, even the joint with Miley Cyrus was pretty cool. So I think overall I need to listen to it more, but it seems like it's I mean, it's Beyonce. It's great.
All I'm saying is my theory about Miley doing the Super Bowl is coming true. She's got a Beyonce song now. It's gonna happen. I said it here first.
Okay, maybe.
Watch this space.
All right, a couple more current event things. So it came out this week in RVA Mag that Pharrell is actually shooting movie in Richmond, Virginia. So RVA Mag reports a musical based on P's childhood is set to be filmed in Richmond. It's coming of age story set in the 70s in Virginia Beach, drawing from Williams' upbringing in the Atlantis apartments. This is what was the most interesting part. Obviously, it's a musical, but then it says Mary J. Blige, Missy Elliott, and Andre 3000 are reportedly part of the cast, according to IMDb. We have been told that shooting in Richmond begins on April 28th. So I'm interested to see how that works because I will say I noticed when I read this the other day, this article came out on March 31st. So like that's a little bit too close to April Fool's Day. Maybe it was, I don't know, but we'll see. It's a crazy cast.
That is a crazy cast. I do want to say abolish April Fool's Day. Ain't nothing funny. Nothing's funny.
Speaking of that, because actually on April Fool's Day, another report came out that was related to Pharrell and Chad the Neptunes. And you guys know I don't like talking about drama. You guys know I don't like this shit. You know I don't like it. But
Love it. So glad you're bringing this up.
on April 1st, it was reported that Pharrell and Chad are in a dispute over trademarks related to the Neptunes name. Chad's lawyer saying that P is trying to monopolize the name. P says the goal here is to make sure that a third party doesn't get a hold of the trademark and to guarantee that Chad and Pharrell can share ownership and administration. Seems like a bunch of back and forth that seems like unnecessary to us as fans, unfortunate to us as fans, but business is business, yo. I don't know.
I'll raise the question of how likely is it at this point in their careers that the copyright was actually going to fall into somebody else's hands? I would posit that's very unlikely. I think that we have this conversation a lot in the music industry or about the music industry, just that like business is complicated. I don't know all the inner workings of like copyright registration and stuff like that. So I want to give Pharrell's business people the benefit of the doubt in this, but like it does come across as a little bit shady. What I will say is like I don't want it to be something that like comes in the way of their working relationship because like we have a deep love for what they do together, and this seems like something that shouldn't something so quote unquote small shouldn't come in the way of like all the stuff that they've built together.
I think it's like again, it's unfortunate. And it's also kind of helps fill in some pieces of a story that we've all kind of just assumed or kind of like been aware of. Like when we talked about we had a whole episode in 2000 to wrap up 2021 where we're talking about the Instagram was popping and they were doing all these things and they were both in the studio with these people. We were excited about that. Then halfway in 2022, the Instagram disappears. And then this article comes out and says, okay, cool. Well, the filing at the point of this dispute came out in 2022. So even then, that same year when they got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, it still looked like something was off, right? Like, so, for me, I look at it, you can look at it either way. I mean, people will say, because P's doing everything, like you said, like it comes off a little bit shady, like, because P's doing so much and like P is active and he's trying to make sure he has control of everything. But I don't know. I don't want to it just seems like there could be so many different interpretations of who's at fault, if anyone's at fault. But I will say this, like I said on the podcast account, I only want to hear from them. I only want to hear from people in the family who are associated, who can pick up the phone and call these people individually, P and or Chad, to get their actual feedback from it. And, Pusha T is the only person that's spoken out so far that just said, hey, this is some lawyer shit. Lawyers trying to make money and it's nothing more, nothing less. So I am going to try to step back and say, like, that's as far as I'm going to take it for right now until more comes out. But either way, the bottom line is that it's unfortunate.
I have some other thoughts, but I'll save them for now.
All right. So the reason why we're really here is P, because P is great, gave us a present on his birthday and released an album yesterday, Black Yacht Rock Volume 1. Let's talk about it.
I think that talking about the Beyonce song is actually a great segue into this because you made the statement of like, funny, I think that Beyonce said, this is not a country album, it's a Beyonce album. In the same way, I wouldn't say this is a yacht rock album necessarily. This is a Pharrell album. It's his love letter to this type of music. And I think that I'm going to speak for you. I think this is probably especially resonant for you because we talk about yacht rock a lot, like
you do
offline about like your love, your family's love for it, and the role it's played like in your childhood. And it was cool to see Pete come out with something like this.
So let's make sure all the listeners know what we're talking about when we say yacht rock. So here is straight from Wikipedia. Yacht rock is a broad music style and aesthetic commonly associated with soft rock, one of the most commercially successful genres from the mid-70s to mid-80s, drawing on sources such as smooth soul, smooth jazz, R&B, and disco. Common stylistic traits include high quality production, clean vocals, and a focus on light, catchy melodies. The term yacht rock was coined in 2005 by the makers of the online video series Yacht Rock, who connected the music with the popular Southern Californian leisure activity of boating. It was considered a pejorative term by some music critics. Prominent artists that have been labeled yacht rock, and this is what we're talking about: Christopher Cross, the Doobie Brothers, Fleetwood Mac, Steely Dan, Rupert Holmes, Michael McDonald, Kenny Loggins, Toto, Supertramp. And so, like we talked about before, my godfather who helped raise me in music is a big fan of the Doobie Brothers and Fleetwood Mac, and especially Steely Dan. So when I realized that that's what this was, I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's definitely what this is. This is amazing. This is really like, we should not be surprised that P made a yacht rock album.
Yeah, actually, I think I was sharing on the podcast. I went to a discussion about, I think it was In Search Of. And actually, we got into a big conversation about Pharrell's influences being based in like Yacht Rock, Steely Dan. We talked about Haitian divorce. Like, we had a long conversation. We actually ended up, somebody made a playlist of Yacht Rock to kind of like show that shared history between the two styles of music. So I feel like it's very relevant.
Yeah. And so we talked about Steely Dan before because Steely Dan influences are very heavy in the song Reach Out Richer, which we talked about by Mayer Hawthorne. But wanted to shout out one of our followers on Instagram, DJ Bates, who posted a video specifically talking about the Steely Dan inspiration and comparing the song, Pharrell's song 1111 to a song Do It Again by Steely Dan, which when you listen to it, it's like, yeah, clearly, like there's no doubt that this is inspired by that type of music. And I mean, it's a genre or a subgenre. Like no one is saying I'm the biggest fan of yacht. I don't know. Maybe people are. Yacht rock it's just to me, like we talked about earlier before we started recording, it's just music that's on. Like you hear it and like, okay, cool. It's called yacht rock because it's music that's on while you're on a yacht, but it's also music that's on while you're in the business chair or you're in an elevator or you're a kid riding with your grandparents, and it's just like on in Richmond, we had this station that my grandparents used to listen to all the time called Light 98. This is Light 98 vibes, like to a T. And I think that's part of why like someone like me would enjoy it, because it's got that nostalgic feel to it. But this is 100% inspired by those artists that we talked about, Steely Dan, those guys.
Let me say this. This is gonna fly in the face of what you just said a little bit, but stick with me. I enjoy this album. Like I listened to it a couple times. I liked it. I think that I struggled with it during my first listen because like I actually really love Yacht Rock. And I think that it is, even though it is kind of music you have on the background, it's usually interesting musically. There's a lot of like layers going on. There's a lot of like really fun instrumentation that I think happens in a lot of the Yacht Rock that I've heard that I don't hear as much of on this album. But I say all that to say, at first it bothered me. So I went and I listened to like a couple Steely Dan songs, a couple Doobie Brothers songs to kind of like remind myself what I think I was looking for. But in that same way, I feel like this is a very Pharrell approach to Yacht Rock.
Right.
Yacht Rock, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And for those of you who still need even more like explanation or history of yacht rock, like I read something today that said like the quintessential yacht rock song is the Pina Colada song, which is like,
I'd say what a fool believes. Everybody knows that song.
so just to even give people even more context, I think recently there's been some people dabbling in yacht rock. I think most like notably for me is like some Thundercat work. So Thundercat's album from 2017, Drunk, is very heavy on the yacht rock vibes. It's got a song called Show You the Way that even features Kenny Loggins and Mike McDonald, who I just named as being some of the big yacht rock artists. Also, the album has a song called The Turn Down featuring Pharrell. So it makes sense, man. The yacht rock community. It's also another cool song on there that's still very heavy yacht rock that has a verse from Kendrick Lamar. Not that he's like in the news or anything right now, but I figured I'd mention that.
I didn't hold that one. Yeah, I mean I feel like it's making I don't want to say a comeback. It's always relevant, but like even Action Bronson has like an album from like a few years ago called Only for Dolphins. It's basically yacht rock.
Yeah,
Yacht rock rap.
yeah.
So it definitely has it's been in the cipher for a little bit now, or back in the mainstream cipher.
Yeah, to me, I think at different points of listening to it, it gives me vibes of a combination of stuff from the Despicable Me album, I mean soundtrack albums, like stuff from Daft Punk work, mixture with some Fly or Die elements in there, with like some Stevie Wonder
Yes.
influences. Like all that together is kind of like what you get from this album. And when you look at it,
Yes.
I think if you appreciate all of those, like you don't have to listen, you don't have to like every song on Despicable Me, but just to cloud away and like fun, and that kind of stuff like that. And then you mix it with the other things that I talked about, and then you put that on the backdrop of Yacht Rock, like, okay, cool. This makes sense for Pete. It makes a lot of sense. And I think it's really well done. And I think that it's also important to note too, like the fact that there was no promotion, no rollout for it, like it's a gift, really. Like you really have no
Yeah.
expectations. Like there's no
Yeah.
anticipation. It's just like, yo, Pharrell just dropped this yacht rock on us. Let me listen to it. Oh, that's cool.
I kind of question if I wanted to have a critical conversation about this because I'm like, he literally just like gave us some
Right.
music that like he felt passionate about, and he was like, I'm gonna put this out in the world. And I have like a deep appreciation for people who do that. So like, I don't even really want to look at it through like a does this measure up to other quote unquote yacht rock? Because like, who cares?
I think that's also part of like just the overall vibes of yacht rock. Like I don't think anyone's saying, "Oh, that yacht rock's better than this yacht rock." Like, nah, it's all
Yeah, it's
like
just good.
good.
It's vibes.
And we talked about it just now, just the fact that he just gave it to us. I think that that's a very important piece of this conversation too, is the significance of direct to consumer. Like for someone that's at P's level to do this, it's his music. He owns it. He said, "I'm done with it. I love it. I want it out in the world. Here, y'all have it." That's
For sure.
that's a really important statement. Let's see how many other people at his level are going to be able to do that, just to make sure that the music gets to the people that want it. So we'll see. I thought that was dope. The fact, because when I first saw that it came out, I was like, oh, now I got to figure out how to listen to this in the car. But then when I could download it, I was like, oh shit, like we actually can have this. This is crazy.
Yeah. It took me back to like Dat Piff because I was like, okay, now I gotta download it, I gotta put it in my iTunes. I can't stream it. It was a throwback feeling. I kind of appreciated it.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I will say that's a not a negative, but like the fact that it just came out and there's nothing about it. Like, so there's no info about it other than people's, critiques of it. So like we don't know who's featured on it or anything like that. I will say that Brent Paschke, who is a friend of the family, we talk about a lot, who was a member of Spy Mob, he did post on IG to say that he worked on it. So he said it's hard to express how honored and grateful I am to have been a part of creating this incredible music. I'm happy to share a new Pharrell album titled Black Yacht Rock Volume 1, City of Limitless Access. So dope to see him back in the fold. Good to see that him and Pharrell have maintained a good relationship. But I would like to know if there's anyone else like in the credits that will make people go, oh shit, like that's dope. Or like, oh yeah, like that sounds like that person. So looking forward to that if it comes out ever.
I would like that information, and I'm somebody who loves like liner notes. But what I will say is, I feel like again, and the more I talk about it, the stronger I feel about it. I feel like it puts emphasis on like this is the music. Listen to the music.
Yeah.
Don't worry about who had anything to do with it. I think we get really and like that's us. Like we are music consumers who love music. We talk about production and who's involved, who recorded, where they recorded. But sometimes I think like I miss the times where you can just listen to music and be like, this is a dope project and I'm focused on the sounds I'm hearing as opposed to focused on who had their hands on it, you know?
Right, for sure. I'm definitely at fault for doing that all the time. I've been doing that since 2002, and then it's Neptune's fault and it's Kanye's fault. Like I'm looking
Very
for
much.
So, any favorite songs?
Yeah, I have two that I really liked. Literally pulling up my iTunes. I think my favorite is Cage Bird Free.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first place I started hearing. I was like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. I felt like it had like the layers I was looking for. Like I really liked the vibe of that song. And then actually the next song after that, which is called Ball. I really like Ball.
Yeah, I think that run of Just for Fun, Cage Bird Free, Ball, and 1111 is a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Sweet spot of the yacht rock vibes for sure. I think I like Dandelion a lot too, but I'd say Just for Fun and Cage Bird Free are probably my favorites.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it's It's good music.
Saturday. I'm gonna clean my house when we get off of here. I'm definitely gonna clean it to this.
My boy, my boy LC Baker sent it to me and he said, I said, crazy, bro. Feels like 80s in Miami. He said, facts. It's crazy how music evokes color. Definitely feels like beach shirt and trunk tunes.
Yes.
My other boy,
Yes.
Chris Norwood, said something, and I hit him back. It's my boy from Hampton. And I was like, yeah, bro, we need a yacht for homecoming, bro. We need a yacht. Get us a yacht in homecoming, which is like not to get too in the weeds of it, but for those of you who know, Hampton is on the water on the Chesapeake Bay. So we have water, like access to water on campus. Like the fact that we have never had a yacht party on homecoming yet is kind of like, what are we doing? But let me see what I can do about that. We'll see. We'll see what I can do about that. Go ahead. What you got to say?
I say I just appreciate like being the age that we're at. I definitely want some yacht music.
It's not bad. Like it's really just again like light 98 vibes. I'm just
Yeah.
for those of you in Richmond who know what I'm talking about. I want y'all to let me know. When I say light 98, y'all know what I'm talking about. Bill Bevins and them. Bill Bevins was the radio host. Oh man. Yacht Rock. Crazy.
This has been dope fun.
I told you I was gonna pull you. I told you I was gonna pull us through it. I told you. I told you. All right, Bo, go get some rest, kid.
Yeah, go vibe out, everybody. I'm going to sleep.
All right, y'all. Appreciate everyone listening. Go check out Black Yacht Rock, blackyacht.rock.com. If you haven't, it's great music, great energy. Shout out to P. Happy birthday. Thank you again, my brother. And appreciate y'all listening. Peace and love.